Should you buy Outriders? What's up, guys? Veteran Gamer here, and today's video is about whether or not you should be purchasing the upcoming looter shooter Outriders. Now, this is an easy answer to anyone specifically on an Xbox console, as Outriders will be available on Game Pass day one, right from the get-go, no extra money required. So if you have Game Pass on an Xbox console, sorry PC guys, it doesn't apply to you. This is an easy answer. Download it, play it, no question. But for everyone else who actually has to purchase the game, so PlayStation players as well as PC players, should you buy Outriders? Well, if you're not familiar with what Outriders is basically Gears of War as a looter shooter. Now, that's not a bad thing because Gears of War is a good shooter in general. It's a good franchise. But now you're basically making it like Destiny and The Division. So you start off by customizing your character with the options that they have here. The options are somewhat limited, but they are there. On top of this, once you create your character, you get to choose between one of 4 classes. And the best thing about these classes is, unlike a game like Destiny, each one plays differently. Granted, they tend to cater to a DPS playstyle, which is fun because you get to go kill things. But they do play differently. I've personally sampled all 4 of the classes, played the demo front to back with all 4 of them, and although my personal favorite is the Technomancer, they play differently. Like, a Technomancer plays completely different to a Trickster, to a Devastator, to a Pyromancer, and that's great. That's great, because one of the issues I had with Destiny as well as The Division is that no matter what class you play, you don't really play any different. The strategy doesn't change. You play it the same way, use whatever weapons you like. Where in Outriders, there is a difference with what you're using and what weapons you should use. You know, a Trickster who likes to get up close, you want to use a Shoddy, as well as maybe an LMG or an assault rifle. If you're using a Technomancer, you want to use like an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. That's basically how they play differently. Of course, their abilities and what they can do are all different. Aside from that, that's your basic synopsis of what Outriders is. And Outriders as well, it runs well, at least on PlayStation 5. Like, on PlayStation 5, I don't have the resolution number, but I do know it runs at 60 frames per second. For the most part, there is the issue, which was subsequently fixed, where during cutscenes they dropped to 30 frames, but they did fix that. And now the game runs at a silky smooth 60 frames per second. The graphics look good for the most part. There are instances where I find that the level of detail is not on par. Like, there's some inconsistency with the visuals. On top of this, you also have like lots and lots of load screens. Like, that's probably one of the biggest issues. Again, on PlayStation 5, the load times are really short, which is good. But when I say there's lots of load screens, think of like Anthem. So you'll go to an area, there's a load screen, another area, load screen. So there is something of abundance of that, and if you have a slow hard drive, it could hinder your experience. The other issue I also experienced with this was the cutscenes have a shaky camera. Now, apparently that is not intended, and that will be ironed out for launch, but you can see it on screen. Like, the camera is shaking as if like you have an amateur camera holder or something. It's weird. They said they will fix that by launch. But at the end of the day, this game in particular is a looter shooter. So should you buy it? Well, if you are knee-deep into a game like Destiny or The Division or any other type of looter shooter or MMO, this game is not reinventing the wheel. Is it good? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. Is it anything actually new? Well, unless you count like the characters and weapons new, like the grind, I guess, but it's pretty much the same. So if you're knee deep in those other games, there's not really a reason for you to purchase this one. Unless you're playing with friends, but then that rule applies to basically any game. If your friends are playing it and you want to play with your friends, get the same game. That's obvious. But if that's not an issue for you, I enjoy it, but there's not a lot of new here. Now, if you're not into, or in knee deep, should I say, into a looter shooter, or you're just looking for something new to play, as we are in a dry spell, by all means, get this game. Like, it ran fine, it played fine. I didn't experience a lot of bugs. I have a lot of fun. I'm actually getting it because, to my surprise, for a looter shooter, it has a very intriguing story. And there's multiple layers to this story that the demo does kind of like lay out for you. And for me personally, if no other reason, I am getting it to play the story. I love narrative-driven games, and even though this is a looter shooter, it does have a strong narrative component, so there is that as a positive. But yeah, it's definitely worth picking up, in my opinion. This is not a review. I don't know, obviously, the ins and outs. I don't know what the end game is like. I don't know if the payoff for the story is going to be good. But based on from what I've played, there is a lot of fun to be had, and the foundation for this game is good. The game comes out on April 1st. No April Fools. But it is coming out April 1st. Like I said, I'm purchasing it for the story. I do have a couple friends that are buying it. So, in my opinion, yeah, you should buy it. You really should. Especially if you need something new to play.